Please welcome Jennifer Moss, author, researcher, and workplace policy strategist.
It's so great to be with you. I just want to thank His Royal Highness and the Human Capabilities Initiative for hosting and curating this brilliant event. I think all of you will be going home, taking this knowledge back to your countries, to your workplaces, to your communities. And I am honored and humbled to be here. So this question, why are we here, which is the title of my next book, sounds like a big question, doesn't it? Why are we here? Well, this is the question that every single individual at work is now asking themselves after the last 4 years. It's been 500 years since the first office, since the first factory, and I say we are now in a complete global shift. We're in year 4 of what this new experience of work looks like. We went from 9 million daily active users on Zoom to 300 million within a few weeks. We increased our meetings by 252% just on Teams meetings alone. We went from 4% of the global workforce to 37% working remote in a month. Here in Saudi Arabia, that number exploded. We went to 65% of people working remote with just in a matter of weeks. We are feeling this shift, this massive and rapid and global shift. And what happens when we go through something so catastrophic, this big health crisis and a continuing poly crisis? What we're seeing is this real analysis of our life and why we are here. We had this really interesting thing that happened when you look at facing your collective mortality, when the entire world went through questioning the finitude of their lives. We have some people, according to the research, what they do is they get fearful. We create this confirmation bias. We get anxious. We want to isolate. We want to remove ourselves from the world. And then there's this other group, this incredible pro-social thing happens where they actually start to say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to do something incredible. I want to change the world. And we can build up those people inside of our workplaces if we just start thinking differently about the fact that we are changed, we're different. What we've also done is what I say is jumping the timeline. How many of you are familiar with Marvel movies? Have any of you watched a Marvel movie? Well, there's this idea of us jumping into another universe, a multiverse of work, and this trajectory that we were once on, it's totally different now. We are in this multiverse of work because of that rapid change, and it's completely shifted the way we think about work. When you imagine that we are, not just jumping this timeline, but we're experiencing this sense of evolution and rapid change in the technology and in the way that we behave. Our patterns have changed. We have a new frame of reference. We can't go back to, this idea of the new normal. There is no new normal. So when we imagine ourselves in that world, you have to imagine that there are people that are feeling this fear, what Gallup is now calling FOBO. A lot of us have heard the term FOMO, JOMO, joy of missing out. Well, now there's a new term that Gallup has developed. It's called fear of becoming obsolete. And young people right now are feeling this fear, this anxiety of becoming obsolete. And so what we need to do is talk about the human sustainability part in our adoption of technology. That two things can be true at the same time. We can have both and. We have both an adoption of AI and technology, and we have this need to fulfill our human resources. When you look at Korn Ferry's report that there'll be 8.5 million people in the next 5 years that we won't be able to put into jobs because they will not be skilled enough for those 8.5 million jobs, which will actually cost 85 trillion dollars in deficit of talent shortage. We don't want to miss out with a shiny object because we're focused on AI. We need to blend technology with human capabilities, and that's what's so exciting about what's happening here. We want to reduce that anxiety by having compassionate integration of technology. We want to communicate and be explicit about why technology is important, but also that people will have jobs. We do that by building up people's knowledge and understanding and reskilling and upskilling so that they feel that they have a place in society. Gen Z is a really interesting dynamic, as well as those that are leaving the workforce. We're seeing right now in Saudi Arabia, 20 to 30% of employees right now say they're gonna retire early. In the US, 10,000 people are turning retirement age every single day. And in Canada, it's 1 in 5. We're seeing this across the board. Actually, in the UK, just read today, it's 1 in 4. So we are seeing this workforce that's exiting, and they have no desire to stay because they say they don't fit into this workplace. If we want to make sure that we don't have a talent shortage, we need to be thinking about that group, as well as Gen Zs right now who say that they don't even think that they'll be able to afford a home one day. I mean, these are the type of behavioral sciences, personality, these economic drivers that we need to be thinking about. We talk about retention and attrition. We talk about all these topics, but are we really thinking about what the mindset is of our workforce and what are the barriers to getting them to stay in the workforce? Even benefits, now we're hearing about these novel ways of attracting late stage workers, mature workers, to keep inside the workforce, things like grandternity leave, which sounds really interesting, this idea of keeping people to stay inside the workforce with new benefits, as well as thinking about financial wellness and well-being for those Gen Zs. They believe in this group, which is going to become 80% of the workforce, millennials and Gen Zs, that well-being is a right, not a perk. They think that that's just as important as being paid. We need to make sure that corporate hygiene is what it's called, the table stakes stuff, is being managed so that we don't increase burnout. That means we have to make sure that we manage workload, that we make sure there's fairness, that there's community, that people feel psychologically and physically safe at work, that they have community, that they have friends at work. All of these things are the root causes of burnout. If we don't address them, then we will see a workforce that is disengaged. And right now, our global workforce is the most disengaged that it has been. We can create happiness by looking at people leaving legacy. We do that by thinking about hope as a strategy. And a lot of people come to me and we hear all this pushback and this idea that hope isn't a strategy, hope is a wish, hope is a myth. Right now, we are seeing highest levels of hopelessness across the globe. Gen Zs feel hopeless 3 times a week. But when you have initiatives like this, at the Human Capabilities Initiative, this plan for these 2030 goals, it gives people hope. And that's why you're seeing so much engagement within the workforce here, the opportunity for us to feel like we can be thriving. We actually can operationalize hope inside of our organizations, and we do that by being explicit. No more conversations about above and beyond. Let's tell people what their expectations are and watch them live up to those goals. Let's watch them as they learn how to develop new skills in technology and AI that makes them feel like they're future ready. Let's operationalize it by creating plan Bs and plan Cs, plan Zs to get to those goals. It's Dr. Robert Snyder's hope theory that talks about agency, which is autonomy, pathways, the plan, and then the goals to which we can get there. We all have that ability to have meaning, purpose, belonging, attaching our instrumental values each day to what we do, and that's going to be the legacy that I think that we can build here, and then we can model that and explore how that looks across the rest of the world. Thank you.